What's going on YouTube? Burlington Northern HO fan here, and today, as you can see, I cleaned off my workbench, but we have another project that we need to work on. And this is a project that's been on the channel for a while, and this locomotive hasn't been on the channel in a while, but I have some ideas for the Blue Box DD40. Now, the last video I did on this, I kind of took it apart and I decided to make just repairing it and just, general basic maintenance on this locomotive. And then I didn't do anything else with it. But now I got myself a Post-it note and I decided I'm gonna do something that I haven't really seen anybody else on this platform do yet with one of these. Maybe I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but all the YouTubers that I know of that do train stuff on this platform, haven't really seen anybody do it. I'm gonna try to put DCC sound in this thing. Now, you guys may be already wondering, if you haven't seen that last video, well, that's a dual motor, that's not really gonna work. But this is a single motor locomotive, and even if it was a dual motor, I could take the other motor out. Now, another thing that I can think about is that this is not a flywheel motor in here. This is a regular old school, no flywheel blue box motor. So it probably will make too much amperage, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. This video, what I want to do is I want to blow this thing completely apart, all the pieces, all sprout out on the table, and I want to go through every single little bit and see what needs to be replaced, if anything, and anything like that. So, gears, axles, wheels, anything like that. Anything that could be better, and it'll make it run better for DCC sound. So, we're going to start with that. First thing we're going to need to do is take the shell off. So let me get my screwdriver and we'll pry the shell off real quick. Okay, so instead of having to use my screwdriver, actually I was able to do it by hand. Sometimes they're a little stiff, but one of the body mounts on this side is broken. So that probably helped with it not being so stiff. So I just kind of pulled the shell off, and now here we have the motor. This is as you can see, this is a regular old school blue box motor that has no flywheels. It's a single motor locomotive, and in here you can see there is plenty of space for a decoder or a speaker. So that's why I was like, you know what, if I'm going to do a blue box DCC sound install, I think the best bet would probably be this, because there's plenty of space. I don't have to worry about space, and this locomotive would probably be the easiest to do it to. Now, a couple of things here I'm noticing right off the bat. This right here, I might have to do some changing around with the drive shaft linkage here, because if I want to upgrade the motor to a flywheel motor, that flywheel is not going to fit here. I might have to do some milling. So that is interesting there. I might have to actually mill that out. So, but yes, first thing I want to do is I'm going to completely take this all off this locomotive. I want the trucks out, I want the motor off, and I want all this up here off. So in order to do that, first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to take these worm gear boxes off. But before we do that, we're going to take this piece off, and we're going to actually probably not ever use this piece again, so we're just going to put that back in the box. So the next thing we need to do, one thing I just noticed right off here, this gearbox, if I put any form of pressure on the wheels, the metal rod will spin in the worm gear linkage. So that's also not good. So if it was pulling anything heavy, it wouldn't be giving any power to this truck, which would make it very sluggish, and it wouldn't be able to, pull. So that we'll have to fix. Anything else here that I need to do before that? Nope. Let's just take these worm gear boxes off. So let me get my flathead. Where did I put it? Give me 1 second. Okay, we've got our screwdriver now, and we're just gonna pry up. Just like so. That gets the worm gear box off, and that pulls the worm gear itself off with the axle, nicely in there. Set that off to the side. And we will set that gearbox off to the side. And then we will take this guy. Now, you may be wondering why I didn't show you guys this thing running first. We have already seen that in the last video, so we really don't need to see that again. I will put the... Let's see if I can put a link in the description or anything like that to the last video I did on this locomotive. So here's the other worm box. Now, another thing with these worm boxes, there is a washer, thrust washer here. These always get, you can't see it because it's out of focus. There's a thrust washer here that always gets misplaced. Try your best to not lose that thrust washer. So we're going to put that back together. We're going to put these together over here. We have our two gearboxes or worm boxes over there. And now we're going to take this piece out right here, just like so. Now, as you can see, look, it is not very tight on there, so we're probably going to have to glue this piece onto the metal rod, but that is a different story altogether. We have, okay, so this is a screw right here to take this piece off, so we'll take that off. Because I'm planning on painting this needs to be painted gray to make it look more accurate to the real thing. The locomotive itself, Union Pacific, painted the gas tanks gray, and they painted the truck frames silver. So we're going to have to do that. We do have a little bit of the blue box bow here in the frame, but that's okay for now. We'll see if I can gently bend that back into shape. But right now, what we need to work on is getting this motor out. So first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to unscrew this guy here, because that'll allow the big metal rod to come out. Okay, there we go. We got our piece out. Put our piece right there. So now this piece is out and it's free moving. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to make that easier on me. I'm just going to pull that gearbox, that drive shaft off, and I'm going to set that off to the side just like that. Then we're going to, instead of ripping this out like this, like you would think you would, don't do that, because if these mounts are old, you'll probably just ruin them. So I'm going to take a nice Phillips head screwdriver. If I can find one. I cleaned my workbench, but I didn't clean it very well. We're going to take a nice, just decent sized Phillips head screwdriver and push the motor mounts out through the bottom. So let me get a screwdriver and we'll push them out. Okay, so I did push the mounts out through the bottom, and as you can see, like I said, the mounts were crusty. So this mount is going to have to get replaced, or I'm just going to have to hot glue it. But there's got to be things we got to do to this motor if we're going to use this motor anyway to make it DCC ready. And first thing, we're gonna pull these mounts off the motor just like so. Just like that. Yeah, see, this mount was very crusty and it just broke into pieces. So that mount is no longer usable. I either have to buy some new mounts for it, or we'll just have to figure something out, hot glue or something. But I'd rather get new mounts because, you know, it's nicer that way instead of it being hot glue, you know. So anyway, that's that. The motor is out. So we're going to set that to the side right here. And now we have our frame all on its own. And now we can go and paint it if we need to, which I'm going to. So we're going to go to the garage and we're going to paint this frame. But before I do that, I'm going to take the gearboxes off. So, or the gearboxes apart, I should say. So that's next thing we need to do. So that's going to be pretty simple. It's going to be these clips right here. Here. Get it into the focus. It's going to be these clips here. And then it should come apart, I believe. Looks like there's another clip right here. If it wants to focus, there it looks like there's another clip right there, I believe. So let's just kind of fish in a screwdriver, kind of. Yeah, there you go. Just like that. Bam. Simple. Just like that. And then we just kind of very nicely, we just take them out like that. And there we go. We have our bottom cover off for the gearbox. And now, if I'm not mistaken, they should just pull. Yes, they just pull apart, just like that. So we're going to look at which way the gears are facing. So the gears are all sitting on this side of the gearbox, so we don't want to lose their spot. And we're just going to pull them out like that. We're going to take the wheels off, just like that. And then we can look at our gears here. These, so I don't remember from the last video the condition of them, but these look pretty nice. They look pretty interesting. Oh, no, I'm dumb. There's the axle gear that goes in between these two. So, anyway, these gears look pretty nice. So, we're not going to have to worry about replacing gears. Thank God, because I don't know what it would take to find these gears. So, that side's good. Now, let's look at our axles. Atheran blue boxes were notorious for cracking axles. But on a blue box, it's not really that big of a problem as it is on a Bachmann. This one looks okay. Let's see. This one also looks okay. And let's see this one. This one also looks okay. We'll look at our last one here. So this one looks good. So it looks like we've got a pretty good gearbox here with good axles and a good gears. So we're going to set that to the side. And we have this on video, so I don't need to worry about the placement of where the gears need to go. So I'm going to now take these gears off. Just like so. Like that. Okay, now we have our gears off. And now we can mask this all off as long as these don't pull out. Okay, so that does pull out, so I'm going to do that just to be safe. So now we can clean this up, which I'm going to do. I'm going to get a wire brush or something and clean that up, clean this up. And then we'll paint this side. Perfect. And we'll do the same with this side. We'll take this piece off if we can. Yes, we can. And then we will clean this up, get all the grease off there, and we will paint that side frame. So those pieces will also be painted. I just lost a bearing. Don't lose these bearings if they fall out like that. No, it came out of this one. So be careful not to lose those bearings that are in there, because that's how it's going to pick up power. So let's just do that. And we'll do that. So those two pieces are set to the side. Now we do the same thing with our other one here. All right, just like that, we have all our pieces that need to be painted. And luckily, again, I opened up the other gearbox, and again, we have no broken or cut or cracked anything. So we got very lucky with that. So with that, though, we're going to move on to painting these pieces and the frame itself. So let's go to the garage. Okay, so here we are in the garage. I have the paint for the frame, but I do not have the paint for the truck frames. I'm going to have to make a quick Walmart run real quick, or hardware store, whatever, you know, wherever you get your normal spray paint. So anyway, first thing I'm going to do before I go run to the store is we're going to clean off the rust of these pieces here, and we're going to mask the frame, and then before I leave, we'll paint the frame, and then I will get the paint that I need. Okay, so took a wire brush to it, and I did as much as I could, and it looks a lot better than it did. So now there's no rust. Well, mostly no rust, so there's a good place to solder wires and stuff. This side I didn't do because there wasn't really any rust on it. So now we're going to paint our frame here. So we're going to set these trucks aside because we can't use them at the moment. We can't paint them. So now we need to mask this thing off. So I'm going to probably wire brush this contact here, and then I'm going to mask this piece of it off. This is probably the only section of it that I'm going to mask off right here, and then we'll paint off the gas tank and the rest of the frame. Okay, I couldn't find any painter's tape, so I just used electrical tape. There's not really anything else we really need here. So I've got my gray paint right here. We're gonna the whole body right here. The things I taped off the little strip here that the motor sits on, and I taped off the little pieces where the trucks connect to the body here. Actually, I completely forgot. I should probably straighten the body a little bit before painting. Just nicely kind of bend that back into shape, like so. Make sure we got a good spray. Okay, and here we go. There we go. That looks, I dropped the cap. That looks a lot better than it did. So now we're going to let that dry, and I'm going to go make a quick store run to get the correct paint for the truck frames. Okay, back from the store, and I've got two types of spray paint. I think I just bought the same can, but they have a different cap. It's metallic, about as good as I'm going to get. The only thing I'm going to tape off here is this part here. This part, these parts, and these parts here. So we're going to use this electrical tape, even though I really probably shouldn't use electrical tape, but it'll do for what I'm trying to do. And we're just going to do something like that. And we're just going to cover the entire piece just like so. Really should have I really should have gone and got painter's tape, but you know, I wasn't thinking of that. But hey, this will work for what I'm trying to do. Hopefully this turns out okay. I'm by no means an expert at any of the stuff that I do on this channel, so don't take anything I say for granted. I'm just, you know, flying by the seat of my pants and just kind of taking you guys along for the ride and looking for input, you know? A lot of the stuff that I end up doing on the channel, I just kind of was like, oh, I have a cool idea in my head and I want to kind of express it, you know? Okay, anyway, let's get our paint. Test spray. Yeah, I like it. All right, here goes nothing. Oh yeah, that looks perfect. That looks great. That looks great. That's exactly the kind of look we're looking for, because UP did that very shiny, fancy looking paint on their truck frames back then. So this is what we're going to go for, and we're going to let this dry and see what happens when it's dry. Okay, so now that we have all the pieces, we need to put it back together. So I'm going to put it back together now, and we will see what the amperage is on this locomotive. You guys saw me take it apart. Don't really need to see me put it back together. I'm gonna forego greasing because the stuff's already oiled. Might put some oil in there, but for right now, I'm gonna forego doing that until we do the DCC install. And when we do the DCC install, I will take it all apart again, and we will go and we will put it together and all that. Because when we do the DCC install, we might have to change things with the motor mount location if we go with, let's say, a brass flywheel motor, because a brass flywheel motor will not fit in the location that it originally was sitting. So we'll have to adjust that. I do believe I have some other extra Atheran motor mounts that I will use to replace the one that broke. So I'll see you guys when I have it back together. All right, so I have it on the layout, and it's all looks pretty good, honestly. Looks not too bad for an old school blue box. Let's see how it runs. That looks about as slow as it's going to want to go. Which makes sense. It's a lot of weight for that little motor to be pushing. So, most likely a motor swap is going to have to happen if I really want to DCC sound this. So, I didn't really want that to come to that, but, you know, it is what it is. And I would really like to see a DCC sound version of this. So, but anyway, it looks good. I like it right now. I mean, I got the locomotive for $10. It's not too, you know, you can't complain for a locomotive that's that cheap and looks that good. So, give it a little more speed here. Anyway, I think that's pretty much the speed that it's meant to be driven at. Maybe a little slower. Which makes sense. Anyway, that's going to be the end of this part of this video. The first part of the series of trying to put a DCC sound decoder in this locomotive. I know it's technically the second part, but this is going to be the first part of putting a decoder in the locomotive. And the other video is, you know, it's not that professional, so. But this video is part 1 of 2, hopefully. And the second part will be me hopefully installing the decoder and most likely motor swapping this locomotive. So. And you know it's called a DD40 by Atheran, but I would like it to be a DD35. It has the number of a DD35, number 70, the first DD35A in the class. So I'm gonna call it a DD35, and we're gonna keep it at that, because if I wanted to get an actual model of a DD35, they're very expensive and they're made out of brass. So no, thank you. I will stick with what I got here with this DD40. So no longer am I calling this a DD40. It is now going to be a DD35. But that's the end of the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace.